Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, I'm going to react to the top 20 movies that made people walk out of the movie theater. Now, personally, I've never been to a movie, seeing it in a theater, and hated it so much that I've left. I've always, just wanted to get my money's worth, just to see if maybe the ending would somewhat rescue it. I'm trying to think back to movies that I've particularly not enjoyed. Let me think here. I'm struggling to think because personally, any movie that I go and see in a theater, I'm going to do a bit of research on it. I'm going to check out some reviews. Most importantly, I check out the IMDb score because personally, I think the IMDb is the best way to judge a movie just because it's pure democracy, right? If a movie's got an 8 out of 10 based on 100,000 votes, it's probably a good movie, So I don't really go and see bad movies that have bad scores, but there are movies that get released every year that are just trash. So this list is going to be really, really interesting just to kind of give me a bit of a heads up because obviously I react to movies every Saturday. So, if I see a movie that I'm considering reacting to on this list, it just saves me 2 hours of time. So yeah, this should be a fun video to watch. Let's do it.
How we doing, baby?
Pulp Fiction.
I gotta go pee. I'm gonna go home.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 movies that caused people to walk out.
Okay, I'm guessing some people walked out maybe because of what they were seeing, the shock, the gore maybe, so it wasn't just exclusively bad movies.
For this list, we're looking at movies that audiences just couldn't sit through, no matter how much they spent on the ticket. It can be because of the content or quality of the film. Which of these films had you sprinting for the exit? Let us know in the comments. Number 20, Caligula.
If they were good men, how could their beloved emperor find them guilty?
Do the words erotic historical drama get you excited? No? Unfortunately for this film, its strange concept was not the only thing it had working against it.
They were appalled.
I do hope so.
In spite of featuring performances from Malcolm...
Isn't this the guy who, in that Stanley Kubrick Clockwork Orange, I feel like this is the lead guy, isn't it?
McDowell, Helen Mirren, and Peter O'Toole, a part for which he was praised, the film was heavily criticized for its violence and for featuring unsimulated sex throughout.
What?
If you're wondering who specifically walked out of this one, the answer is Roger Ebert himself, who described the film as,
wow, sickening, utterly worthless, shameful trash. Oh my God. Wow.
quote, sickening, utterly worthless, shameful trash. Although considered a cult classic by some, the film is still divisive to this day.
Holy smokes.
Let them hate me, so long as they fear me.
Number 19, Fight Club.
First rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
If Fight Club is anything, it's provocative. It bizarrely manages to strike a balance between pavement-level grounded and borderline absurd, all while deftly telling the story of a man who's been pushed over the edge of societal norms to break with reality.
What are we doing tonight? Tonight? We make soap.
A movie like that's pretty weird, and needless to say, not everyone got it. As if that wasn't bizarre enough, the scenes of raw, animalistic violence and something about getting covered in human fat were enough to push people over the edge.
Gross.
Fight Club's awesome. It's just not for everyone.
Things you own end up owning you.
Number 8.
Yeah, Fight Club is a legendary movie. I've not seen it in well over 10 years, to be fair. Maybe it might be worth doing a reaction to it just to see, because it's got to be over 10 years, just to see if my perspective on some of the things in the movie has changed since I last saw it.
The Revenant. Leo worked hard for his Oscar, and Alejandro G. Iñárritu is a genius. But The Revenant is pretty much just 2.5 hours of a guy trying not to die.
Yeah.
It's a harrowing journey that explores the limits of a man, and how far he'll go to not only survive, but also to take revenge. It has a couple of scenes that are hard to watch, but the real kicker is the bear attack scene.
Absolutely. I've referred to this scene so many times on this channel. That bear scene is just, to me, it feels realistic and just so jarring. how helpless you would feel if you come up against a bear.
Like the rest of the film, strives for realism in the most gut-wrenching fashion possible.
Ugh,
For some,
oh my God.
watching a bear rip into Leonardo DiCaprio was just too much.
Awful. The way it charges at him.
Number 17, The Walk.
Why? That is the question people ask me most.
In 1974, Philippe Petit performed the daring feat of walking on a high wire between the two towers of the World Trade Center. The 2015 film The Walk tried to capture this feat, and to do so, shot the film in IMAX 3D.
All right, you get him. I got your back.
The cinematography expertly captured the sensation of tightrope walking a quarter-mile above the ground, which, while impressive, is not what some audience members were expecting. Those who were not wholly comfortable with heights found the movie to be a tough watch, with many
Really?
reporting motion sickness as the feat was performed.
I'm going to hang a high wire between the two towers of the World Trade Center and walk on it.
Number 16,
Personally, I don't know how I feel about movies, based on, just random things like that. They made I'm sure what he did in real life was very memorable and stuff. But did they really need to make a whole movie about that one thing? I don't know. Let me know how you guys feel about that.
The Tree of Life.
Tell us a story from before we can remember.
At the 2011 Cannes Film Festival, The Tree of Life was met with both boos and applause,
Oh my
and
God,
went on to
why?
win the festival's illustrious Palme d'Or award. Needless to say, critics were divided.
What's it about?
As were audiences. One of the film's stars, Sean Penn, stated that he did not find the same beauty and emotion in the final film as he did in the script, in no small part thanks to the film's convoluted narrative. While ambitious, and by some accounts a masterpiece, many audience members just wanted a movie they could sit down with some popcorn and enjoy.
It could be better.
Number 15, The Path.
I mean, we saw dinosaurs there. We saw, what was that about? I didn't really understand what. Maybe I should watch it. Is it worth watching that?
Passion of the Christ.
Oh, mate, this movie. Yeah, this movie was crazy.
In telling the story of Jesus dying for the sins of humanity,
Yeah,
The
this
Passion
seems
of the Christ
crazy,
is
man.
understandably brutal. Mel Gibson's desire to bring to life the suffering endured by Christ was off-putting to some audiences, as it spares no details with the lashing, the beating, the crown of thorns, and the crucifixion itself.
Yeah, this movie, I watched it as a 15-year-old or something. It was very
One
shocking.
woman actually experienced a fatal heart attack while watching the climactic
What? She died?
scene of the film. Needless to say, if you were looking for something to complement your Sunday school lesson, this might not be it.
Oh, my God.
Number 14,
I remember reading an article. Apparently, the guy who played Jesus in that movie, really, really struggled to get future roles. He felt like, studios kind of blacklisted him because of that role. Why? Why would they do that?
Clockwork Orange.
For
Yeah,
now
this
it was
movie is
lovely
just
music
weird.
that came to my aid.
Very weird.
Back in 1971, audiences were not ready for the maniacal breed of ultraviolence that Alex and his droogs offered up in Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. If it wasn't the savage beating, the vicious fights or assaults, audiences were severely put off by the stylization that some critics might argue glamorizes such violence. Those who stayed to watch the end of the film were rewarded with a discussion of free will and humanity's baser instincts in a modern society, but it was understandably a little much for some.
I've learned my lesson, sir. I see now what I've never seen before. I'm cured. Praise God.
Number 13,
Yeah, I can definitely imagine, in the 70s, that must have just been something else to see. Absolutely. Even watching it now, when I watched it, it was so, some of the scenes were quite jarring. Yeah, I can definitely see why it was walked out on.
Pink Flamingos.
I'm the filthiest person alive. That's who I am.
I've not
John
seen this
Waters
one.
created Pink Flamingos as his first entry into his trash trilogy, with the tagline, "An exercise in poor taste." This now cult film was an ode to the counterculture of its day, and made a deliberate effort to push its audience as far as it could.
We might be in the mood for a barbecue. Get what I mean? A human barbecue.
The film focuses on a drag queen known as, quote, the filthiest person alive.
We'll see who's the filthiest person alive. We'll just see!
If the nudity and
Mate.
profanity wasn't enough to throw an audience's day off, those who stayed to the end got to see the main character eating, well, you'll actually have to see that for yourself.
Filth are my politics. Filth is my life.
Number 12.
Eating what? Eating what? I'm so curious. I'm gonna have to do some research after this video.
Swiss Army Man.
This is you. This is your body.
The response to Swiss Army Man at the 2016 Sundance Film Festival was sort of a two-part process. At first, screenings of the surrealist comedy had to turn audiences away from packed viewing rooms. That is, until the film actually started. Then it became more of a challenge to keep audiences in their seats, as many decided that a film starring Daniel Radcliffe of Harry Potter fame as a farting corpse was just too much for them to handle. To be fair, there has also been positive critical appraisal of Swiss Army Man, but that mattered little to audience members who preferred to hit the bricks.
Okay, buddy.
Number 11. Antichrist.
Man, look, I'm all for like experimentation and stuff, but I feel like some directors are just trying to be weird for the sake of being weird, or just for like shock factor. Or maybe I'm being a bit presumptuous by saying that because I've not seen the movie. Maybe I need to see the movie first, but just based on that, what I saw there, that just seemed super weird. Like, or have any of you guys seen that movie and you liked it? Let me know.
There is nothing atypical about you, BRIT.
Lars von Trier is no stranger to cinematic controversy, and the art house horror flick Antichrist is one such example. Why he decided scenes where both Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg have their nether regions altered in particularly gruesome fashion were absolutely necessary is anyone's guess. Audiences and critics varied between obsession and repulsion at the end results of von Trier's work, with many screenings of the film being notable for members of the audience just not being able to handle the horror Antichrist set on screen. Number 10. 120.
Oh, this movie. I still haven't seen this. I need to watch this. Yeah, like it's a scene where he like has to, cut his arm off to free himself, right?
7 hours. 127 Hours was a biopic from Oscar-winning director Danny Boyle about canyoneer Aaron Ralston, who became headline news for a harrowing situation that left him trapped for days between a rock and a hard place. The film came to a head during a pivotal scene where Ralston, played by James Franco, is forced to amputate his arm in order to free himself from a huge boulder.
Oh my god.
This rock.
Oh my god.
This rock has been waiting for me my entire life.
Oh my god.
The scene is extremely graphic and sent many audience members into a panic, with some theaters reporting vomiting and fainting. This is something you might expect from a horror film, but maybe not so much from a film that was marketed as, quote, a triumphant true story.
You have a phone?
Yes, but no signal. You should stop and rest.
Rest. He's gonna bleed out.
Number 9.
Mate, the original guy, the canyoneer guy, why would you do that alone? Why would you go out alone and do something like that? Man, could you imagine having to cut your own arm off to free yourself from that situation? I think most of us, myself included, would say that we probably couldn't even do it. Couldn't do it. But then if you don't do it, you die. Ugh, what an awful predicament to be in.
Raw. The French-Belgian horror film Raw raised eyebrows with its realistic and disturbing portrayal of on-screen cannibalism. The film describes the descent into madness of a vegetarian college student who is hazed and forced into eating raw rabbit. It's after this traumatic incident that she develops a taste for violence and human flesh, and it's these scenes that reportedly sent audiences into physical panic, with some becoming ill in the theater, passing out, or otherwise running the hell away from what was clearly a successfully horrific film.
Y'a rien d'autre qui t'intéressait sur le menu?
French, eh?
J'espère qu'il était bon, moi.
Number 8. Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, anything with cannibalism, it's a nope from me. Nope.
What they call a quarter pound of cheese in France.
Royale with cheese.
No.
Tell him, Vincent.
Royale with cheese.
Today, fans of Quentin Tarantino have grown to expect and appreciate the filmmaker's relationship with on-screen violence. This wasn't exactly the case back in the early 90s. As
one of my favorite movies of all time. It's been years since I've watched it. Definitely due for a rewatch.
Evidenced by the powerful response to two of Tarantino's early features, Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. Tarantino himself told The Guardian in 2017 how he, quote, counted the walkouts when Reservoir Dogs hit the festival circuit. Pulp Fiction didn't fare much better, with some audiences, perhaps unused to Tarantino's stylized vision and emphatic violence, walking out of theaters in protest.
You will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
The film was even booed at the 1994 Cannes Film Festival by audiences who felt that it wasn't deserving of the Palme d'Or, the festival's highest honor. Number 7.
Mate, that scene in Reservoir Dogs where Michael Madsen's character, I think it's Mr. Orange, when he removes the officer's ear. Oh my God. When I first saw that, oh my God, it was, yeah. It was awful.
Irréversible. Gaspard Noé is like many other directors on this list, in that he's unafraid of exploring even the most disturbing of subject matters within his search for artistic expression. Case in point, the brutal and unflinching assault scene in Noé's 2002 film Irréversible, which had audiences around the world walking out of screenings. The film, which is also full of physical violence and offensive language, even reportedly featured the presence of infrasound, a lowered frequency that is said to subconsciously induce fear, tension, and nausea. All of these aspects make Noé's Irréversible a film that definitely is not for the squeamish. Number 6. Freaks.
That looks interesting.
You'll have to hurry. We haven't much time.
Featuring circus performers with real deformities, this pre-code film from the 30s was originally 90 minutes long, but the studio viewed the film as too shocking to be released.
Oh, gee. Ain't it cute? What is it?
A girl.
Oh, boy, that's great, and it's going to have a beard.
If you're hoping we're gonna have some juicy footage from the extended cut here, sorry, that footage is by all accounts gone forever. In spite of the extensive cuts, some audience members were still unable to stomach the content. Sure, by today's standards, it may not seem like it's that big of a deal, but in 1932, you can rest assured this film caused quite the stir.
Why should they laugh at you?
Most big people do. They don't realize I'm a man with the same feelings they have.
Man, I'm intrigued. I really want to watch that. It just has that sort of like old world sort of, you know, just weirdness to it, but still want to watch it. It looks kind of interesting.
Number 5. Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, mate, the first scene of Saving Private Ryan where they get to the beach and they just get mowed down. Oh, man, it's just savage. Like, yeah, I reacted to it on this channel. Like, yeah, just complete shocker.
It's clear. I'll see you on the beach.
Saving Private Ryan is now regarded as one of the greatest war films of all time due to its harrowing depiction of the realities of World War II. The opening scene of soldiers landing on Omaha Beach was so visceral and anxiety-inducing, it overwhelmed some viewers to the point of walking out of the cinema, particularly veterans. These scenes were so striking, they actually caused a PTSD hotline to become overwhelmed with calls.
Damn.
Whereas so many films in this genre strived for technical and cinematic achievement, Saving Private Ryan was entirely focused on portraying the horrors of war, and it's this realism that left some viewers in a deep state of trauma and grief.
70 years.
And
that's the first time I talked about it.
Okay, to your family,
it was too hard. And I didn't want to bring it home to my family.
Number 4, Mother.
Nonsense. No, it's late. Stay the night.
No, I couldn't.
Please, we'd enjoy the company, right?
Yes, of course.
Mother was destined to be divisive, although perhaps neither director Darren Aronofsky nor star Jennifer Lawrence could have predicted exactly how split audiences would be on the film. Although some fans and critics lauded Mother as a challenging yet bold triumph, other screenings of the film were marred by walkouts and complaints.
Stop it! No! Stop! No!
Some audience members even went so far as to demand refunds for their unpleasant experience, a move which perhaps mirrors Aronofsky's desire to provoke better than any actual scene in the finished product.
What in the
Do you
world?
hear that? That is the sound of life. That is the sound of humanity.
Number 3. Clover.
I might watch that tonight. I want to know what the heck that movie is about.
Field.
You still filming? Yeah. People are gonna want to know how it all went down.
There are many different reasons why people walk out of movies, some of which have absolutely nothing to do with the film's content. Take Cloverfield, for example, a throwback to old-school monster movies with a very modern twist. The found footage shooting style.
I don't know, something else. Also terrible.
Many audience members were actually enjoying Cloverfield during its big-time box office opening back in 2008, but still found themselves searching for the door before the film's destructive climax.
Why?
This was due to the often shaky and jarring camera work that comes part and parcel with the found footage style, an approach that left many moviegoers physically ill and nauseous.
Is this thing on?
Look out!
Babe, it's on my...
Yeah, the shaky cam is very, I mean, you can use shaky cam, but it doesn't have to be so, OTT.
Camera, I don't know if it's the on button or the zoom button.
Number 2, The Blair Witch Project.
This was a very long day. A very wet, very long day.
The Blair Witch Project had the perfect amount of parameters to make it successful. First off, the film's viral marketing gave it a massive groundswell of hype before it even hit screens in 1999. Once audiences did catch a glimpse of the Blair Witch Project, however, it made national news again. This time for reports of audiences walking out of the theater or becoming physically ill.
Oh my God, what the f*** is that? What the f*** is that?
Many audiences weren't used to the found footage style of filmmaking back in the late 90s, or the dizzying effect it can have, not to mention the fact that many fans were also scared witless by the film's overall execution. So call this one a win-win.
Haven't seen it.
That's your motivation!
What's it about?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. The Exorcists.
Of course.
Number 1, The Exorcist.
How long are you planning to stay in Reagan?
Until she rots and lies stinking in the earth.
We come now to the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, man. Reacted to this movie like maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and God, there were a few scenes that I was legit scared. Legit. The scene where she's crawling down the stairs like that, and her head and the blood's coming, mate.
The massive horror hit that sent audiences screaming and into a panic back in 1973. Audiences around the world cried, fainted, screamed, and ran out of theaters that were screening director William Friedkin's satanic classic, with some proclaiming the film to just be pure evil.
Do something, Doctor, please help her.
Maybe it's the combination of The Exorcist's amazing special effects, music, and cinematography, or perhaps the occult themes and religious allegory contained within the film make it so scary. Whatever the reason, The Exorcist absolutely terrified audiences, and remains a startling example of the power of film.
The Lord be with you, and also with you.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from
Can't lie, there's a couple of movies on that list, particularly Mother, and the one, the French one, I think it was Irréversible or something like that I want to watch. Like, they just seem to, captivate my interest. But yeah, also the Blair Witch Project, I love the horror genre. Even if it scares the crap out of me, I definitely want to watch it. Yeah, just some absolute legendary movies on this list. Clockwork Orange, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, just The Exorcist. Yeah, I can imagine back in the day, The Exorcist came out in 73. I think it was groundbreaking at the time. I think there had been horror films, but it really sort of, I think, ratcheted it up a level, in terms of what audiences could expect from horror movies. Seeing that on the big screen today would scare the crap out of people. It would, today. Just the scenes where the demons would flash on the screen for a split second. They're very, very jumpy, man. Great list. Let me know if you agree with some of the picks on this list, and if there's other movies that made you walk out of the theaters, let me know. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.